Vampires have been a staple of horror cinema from the earliest days of the medium. From Nosferatu to The Lost Boys, vampires were made for film. And just as cinema has evolved and changed over the decades, so too has the figure of the vampire, shapeshifting and morphing into different guises. These immortal creatures of the night have fascinated filmmakers and audiences alike, with each iteration bringing its own interpretation of vampiric lore, often reflecting societal fears or taboos of the time. Whether as aristocratic predators stalking the night or tormented souls seeking redemption, vampires have remained a compelling and adaptable archetype in cinema. What We Do in the Shadows is a horror mockumentary by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. The movie follows a film crew documenting a group of vampires and their misadventures in the run-up to an event known as the Unholy Masquerade, a mass ball for supernatural creatures. The film is made up of vignettes that give glimpses of their lives together in their flat. It shows their clashing personalities, vampiric bloodlust, and attempts to cope with modern life in New Zealand. Described as Vampire Suck meets Man Bites Dog, the film was well received by horror fans and critics alike. The creators combined their two favourite genres, horror and comedy, to make the film, and were influenced by films such as The Lost Boys and American Werewolf in London. This combination of horror and comedy follows the tradition of genre disruption for which New Zealand cinema has become famous, such as Peter Jackson's zombie comedy film Brain Dead, in which a peaceful suburb is disturbed by a zombie outbreak. What We Do in the Shadows does the same thing by subverting the audience's expectations, presenting the vampires in a comedic and lovable way, and setting the film in a mundane Wellington flat. Over the years, we've seen the archetypes of the vampire change from monstrous predator to Byronic lover and sympathetic loner. What We Do in the Shadows plays with these stereotypes, heightening them to the extremes, but still maintaining them in a recognisable manner. For example, the housemates all represent specific vampires portrayed on screen over the decades. Deacon, Vlad, Peter, Viago, and of course the newest addition to the family, Nick.
The movie Twilight, have you seen it? Okay, I'm the main guy, Twilight. You know the main guy, Twilight? That's me.
As the youngest member of the group, he was not exactly welcomed with open arms. He was originally introduced to the family as prey. After much psychological taunting, the family attempt to hunt him down in one of the film's more horrifying scenes, which showcases the determination, bloodlust, and supernatural powers of the vampires. He is eventually caught by Peter and is turned into a vampire. It is moments like this which disrupt the film and remind the viewer that while the comedic elements of What We Do in the Shadows are plentiful, the film is still very much a horror, with some rather shocking and bloody moments. The fact that these lovable idiots are literal bloodthirsty murderers can easily be forgotten when they act so silly, but we are all too quickly reminded of this fact when meeting the family's familiar, a human servant who assists with the cleanup and disposal of their victims for the promise of one day becoming a vampire. The nonchalant attitude to murder is chilling at times, and a reminder of the lengths to which someone would go for the chance of immortality. Isolation and loneliness is also explored as a central theme of the film, which is often used in horror to bring about a sense of hopelessness. The vampire family, despite living together, are essentially isolated from the rest of society due to their predatory nature and immortality. We can see examples of these themes being explored in other vampire films, such as Bram Stoker's Dracula and Interview with the Vampire. In both cases, the vampires live lonely and isolated lives, finding solace only among their own kind. They've been left in the past and struggle to adapt to the modern world, and essentially only have each other. In What We Do in the Shadows, this isolation, again, is heightened to absurdity for laughs, but underscores a deeper sense of existential dread and alienation. Ironically, it takes the arrival of Nick to bring the family out of this isolation. Even though he was hated for the majority of the film, it is his connection to humanity, and particularly his close human friend Stu, and their understanding of modern times, that would bring the family out of their existentialism. After the success of the film, it has transitioned into an ongoing TV series expanding on the lives and hang-ups of the modern vampire in supernatural suburbia. It has reignited interest in vampires and more films and television exploring the genre. The vampire comedy genre especially has taken influences from the film and TV series. This can be seen, for example, in the similar stylizing and promotional images for Reginald the Vampire and Renfield. It could be said that Waititi and Clement breathed new life into the vampire following a fatigue of vampire media in a post-Twilight world. Vampire cinema focuses on undead monsters, but it's safe to say vampire media is very much alive.